If you think darkness is just the absence of light, you're dangerously unprepared for what's coming. When the power grid fails, when blackouts stretch from hours into days or weeks, your home doesn't just lose electricity, it loses its invisibility, it loses its protection. And if you haven't planned for this exact moment, it becomes a target. Right now, before you close this video, I need you to understand something critical. A home defense plan without power is not the same as your everyday security routine. Everything changes when the lights go out. Your alarms don't work, your cameras go dark, your electric locks become paperweights, and everyone around you, including the desperate, the opportunistic, and the dangerous, knows it. So if you're serious about protecting your family when civilization flickers and fails, subscribe now, because what I'm about to share could mean the difference between surviving the blackout and becoming a statistic in it. Let's start with the reality most people refuse to accept. The power grid is fragile. It's not a question of if it fails, but when and for how long. Cyber attacks on infrastructure are increasing. Extreme weather events are intensifying. Electromagnetic pulses, whether from solar storms or hostile actors, are not science fiction. They are documented threats that governments and military agencies take seriously. When any of these scenarios unfold, the first 24 hours are chaos. People panic, stores are looted, streets become dangerous, and your home, sitting there in the dark, becomes a beacon to anyone looking for food, water, supplies, or shelter. You think your neighbors are all going to stay calm and rational? You think desperation doesn't turn ordinary people into threats? It does, and it happens faster than you think. The first principle of home defense without power is this: do not advertise that you're prepared. This is counterintuitive for many preppers who want to show off their gear, their solar panels, their stockpiles. But the moment your house is the only one with lights, noise, or visible activity during a blackout, you've painted a target on your door. Operational security means blending in. If your neighborhood is dark, your house should look dark too. Use blackout curtains, not just regular curtains. Block every window. If you're using candles, lanterns, or flashlights inside, make sure no light escapes to the outside. Even a faint glow can signal to someone outside that you have resources. If you're running a generator, and we'll talk about that shortly, the sound and the smell of fuel can travel blocks. You need to either sound dampen it, place it far from your home, or avoid using it during peak danger hours. The goal is invisibility. You want looters and opportunists to pass your house by because it looks as abandoned and desperate as every other house on the block. Now let's talk about physical barriers, because when the power is out, your locks are your first and last line of defense. Standard door locks are not enough. If you're relying on a basic deadbolt and a hollow core door, you're inviting forced entry. Upgrade to solid core or metal doors. Your deadbolts should be heavy-duty, with at least a 1-inch throw. Reinforce your door frames with strike plates that have 3-inch screws going deep into the studs, not just the trim. A door is only as strong as the frame it's mounted in. Most break-ins happen because the frame splits, not because the lock fails. Install door security bars or braces on the inside. These are simple, low-tech devices that wedge under the door handle and brace against the floor, making it nearly impossible to kick the door in. They work even if your lock is picked or broken. For sliding glass doors, use a bar in the track and consider adding blocking pins in the upper track to prevent lift-outs. Windows are your weakest points. Standard glass breaks easily and quietly with the right tools. You have several options. Security film is a transparent adhesive layer that holds shattered glass together, making it harder to break through. It won't stop a determined attacker forever, but it buys you time and makes noise, which is a deterrent. Install window locks on every window, including second story. People assume height is protection, but ladders are common and accessible. Consider installing security bars or grills on ground floor and accessible windows, but make sure they have quick release mechanisms from the inside for fire escape. Another low-cost option is to plant thorny, dense shrubs like barberry or hawthorn under windows. They create a natural, painful barrier that discourages approach. Perimeter defense is about creating layers. The further out you can detect and deter a threat, the better. Start with your property line. If you have a fence, make sure it's in good repair and difficult to climb. Add tension wire or hardware cloth to the bottom to prevent crawling under. Motion-activated lights are standard security, but in a blackout, they're useless unless you have backup power. Instead, consider low-tech perimeter alarms. Tripwires connected to bells, cans filled with rocks, or even commercial driveway alarms that run on batteries. These alert you to movement without needing grid power. Walk your property at night in the dark and see where the vulnerabilities are. Where would you enter if you were trying to break in? Those are the spots you need to harden first. Let's address generators and backup power. because this is where many people make fatal mistakes. Generators are loud. They consume fuel. They emit exhaust, and they announce to everyone within earshot that you have power, which means you have resources. If you're going to run a generator during a blackout, do it strategically. Run it during the day when ambient noise is higher and visibility makes it harder for people to approach unseen. Never run it at night unless absolutely necessary. Place it as far from your home as safely possible, inside a shed or enclosure that dampens sound. Vent the exhaust properly to avoid carbon monoxide poisoning. Keep your fuel stored securely and out of sight. Fuel theft will be rampant during extended outages. A better option for essential power is a solar generator or battery backup system that operates silently. These are more expensive up front, but eliminate the noise and fuel signature that makes you a target. Communication is critical when the grid is down. Cell towers may work for a few hours on battery backup, but after that, mobile networks will fail. Landlines, if they still exist in your area, might work longer, but don't count on it. Invest in battery-powered or hand-crank emergency radios that receive NOAA weather alerts and AM/FM broadcasts. Two-way radios, like FRS or GMRS handhelds, allow you to communicate with family members on your property or with trusted neighbors without relying on infrastructure. Keep spare batteries or invest in rechargeable models with solar chargers. Information is power. Knowing what's happening outside your home, whether the blackout is local or widespread, whether it's natural or hostile, helps you make better decisions about when to fortify, when to stay quiet, and when to move if necessary. Now we need to talk about weapons and force, because this is where theory meets reality. You have the right to defend your home and your family, but you need to be trained, prepared, and legally aware. Firearms are the most effective home defense tools, but only if you know how to use them under stress, in the dark, and with precision. A shotgun is often recommended for home defense because it's easier to aim under pressure, and the sound of racking a shell is a psychological deterrent. But shotguns have limited capacity and heavy recoil. A handgun offers mobility and faster follow-up shots, but requires more training for accuracy. A rifle, particularly an AR-15 platform, offers capacity, accuracy, and stopping power, but over-penetration through walls is a serious concern in close quarters. Whichever you choose, you must train regularly. Shooting at a range in daylight with no adrenaline is not the same as shooting in your own home, in the dark, with your heart pounding and your family behind you. Practice shooting in low light. Practice moving through your home with your weapon. Practice target identification, because the last thing you want is to shoot a family member or a neighbor who came to ask for help. If you don't have firearms, or if they're not legal in your area, you still have options. Pepper spray and bear spray are effective non-lethal deterrents with range. Baseball bats, crowbars, and tactical flashlights can be used for close defense. Even a fire extinguisher can disorient and incapacitate an attacker. The key is accessibility. Your defensive tools need to be staged in locations throughout your home where you can reach them quickly. A gun locked in a safe in the basement is useless when someone is breaking through your front door. Balance security with access. Quick access safes with biometric or mechanical locks are a good compromise if you have children. Let's talk about light discipline and night vision. When the power is out, darkness is both your enemy and your ally. Attackers will use it to approach unseen, but you can use it to your advantage if you're prepared. Your eyes take about 20 minutes to fully adjust to darkness. If you've been using a flashlight or sitting near a candle, you've lost that adjustment. Train yourself and your family to move through your home in complete darkness. Memorize the layout. Remove tripping hazards. Practice navigating without light. Use red light flashlights or headlamps for tasks that require light, because red light preserves your night vision better than white light. If you can afford it, night vision binoculars or goggles give you a massive advantage. You can see threats before they see you. But even without expensive equipment, simply being disciplined about light usage makes you harder to target. Your family needs a plan, and everyone needs to know their role. In a home defense scenario, panic kills, confusion kills, hesitation kills. Sit down with your family right now and map out a plan. Who is responsible for securing which doors and windows when the power goes out? Where is your rally point inside the home if there's a breach? Who calls for help? And what do you do if communication is down? If you have children, where do they go and who protects them? Run drills. Practice in the dark. Make it routine so that when the real event happens, muscle memory takes over. Designate a safe room, a defensible position with a solid door, a lock, and a way to barricade it from the inside. Stock it with water, a first aid kit, a charged phone, a weapon, and a way to signal for help. This is your last line of defense if the rest of your home is compromised. Food and water security become home defense issues during a blackout. If people know you have supplies, you become a target. Store your stockpiles out of sight. Don't cook aromatic foods that send smells into the neighborhood and advertise that you're eating well while others are starving. Use a camp stove or rocket stove in an interior room with ventilation, not outside where the smell and light can be detected. Ration quietly. If you have a garden, harvest it before others notice. If you're drawing water from a well or collecting rainwater, do it discreetly. Desperation makes people do things they wouldn't normally do, and the smell of cooking meat or the sight of fresh produce can turn a neighbor into a threat. Psychological preparedness is just as important as physical security. Fear, stress, and adrenaline impair your judgment. You need to train your mind to stay calm under pressure. Breathing techniques, mental rehearsals, and scenario planning all help. Visualize what you would do if someone tries to break in. Walk through it mentally. What do you hear? What do you see? What are your options? This mental practice reduces freeze response and speeds up decision-making in a real crisis. Except that you may have to make hard choices. You may have to turn away people asking for help. You may have to use force to protect your family. These are not easy decisions, but they're real, and you need to be mentally prepared to make them before the moment arrives. Community defense is a force multiplier, but it requires trust and planning long before the lights go out. If you have neighbors you trust, talk to them now about mutual defense. Create a communication plan. Establish a watch schedule. Pool resources and skills. A coordinated neighborhood defense is far more effective than isolated households trying to survive alone. But be cautious. Not everyone can be trusted. Operational security means limiting who knows about your preparations. Share information on a need-to-know basis. Form alliances with people who bring skills, resources, and reliability. Avoid loose talkers, those who brag about what they have, because they will attract danger to your area. Medical preparedness is part of home defense because injuries will happen, and help may not be available. Stock a comprehensive first aid kit with trauma supplies, tourniquets, hemostatic gauze, chest seals, pressure bandages. Learn how to use them. Take a Stop the Bleed course or a wilderness first aid class. In a home defense scenario, you or a family member could be injured by an attacker, by an accident in the dark, or by stress-related medical events like heart attacks. Know how to stop bleeding, treat shock, manage fractures, and perform CPR. Have prescription medications stockpiled if possible. Have antibiotics if you can legally obtain them. Pain management, from over-the-counter NSAIDs to stronger options, will be critical if hospitals are overwhelmed or unreachable. Fire is a serious risk during a blackout, especially if people are using candles, lanterns, and improvised heating sources. A fire in your home during a crisis is catastrophic because emergency services may not respond, and escaping into a dangerous neighborhood may be worse than staying inside. Prevent fire by using safe lighting and heating sources. Keep fire extinguishers accessible on every floor. Install battery-operated smoke and carbon monoxide detectors and check them regularly. Have an escape plan that accounts for a nighttime evacuation in the dark with no power. Practice it. Fire is one of the most underestimated threats during a blackout, and it can destroy everything you've prepared in minutes. Sanitation and waste management become security issues when the power is out and water stops flowing. Toilets won't flush. Garbage piles up. Disease spreads. You need a plan for human waste disposal that doesn't attract pests, create health hazards, or signal your presence. Portable camping toilets, 5-gallon buckets with liners and kitty litter, or a pre-dug latrine far from your water source are all options. Dispose of waste discreetly. Burn or bury garbage if municipal services stop. Poor sanitation will lead to disease outbreaks, which weaken you and make your home defense harder to maintain. Hygiene is survival. Let's address the issue of showing compassion versus protecting your family. This is the hardest moral question you'll face. When desperate people come to your door asking for food, water, or shelter, what do? Every situation is different, and there's no universal answer. But the principle is this: you cannot save everyone, and attempting to do so may cost you and your family everything. If you give away your supplies, you shorten your own survival time. If you let strangers into your home, you risk violence, theft, or disease. Compassion is a virtue, but discernment is survival. You can offer limited help from a distance without compromising your security. A bottle of water handed through a cracked door. Directions to a shelter or aid station. But inviting unknowns into your home during a crisis is a risk you need to weigh very carefully. Your first responsibility is to your family. There is no shame in that. Deception and misdirection can be defensive tools. If someone is scouting your home or asking questions, give them false information. Tell them you're out of food. Tell them you've already been robbed. Look and act as desperate as everyone else. Hide valuables and supplies in non-obvious places. Use decoy stashes that contain low-value items to satisfy looters and make them move on without finding your real stockpiles. Create the appearance of poverty and helplessness on the outside while maintaining strength and readiness on the inside. This is not cowardice. This is tactics. Long-term blackouts, lasting weeks or months. Shift from home defense to community collapse. You cannot remain isolated indefinitely. Supplies run out. Security fatigue sets in. You'll need to make decisions about whether to stay or relocate. Have a bug-out plan ready. Know your routes. Have your bags packed. Have a destination in mind, whether it's a rural property, a friend's place, or a pre-planned rally point. But also know that moving during a crisis is extremely dangerous. Roads may be blocked. Ambushes are common. You're most vulnerable when you're mobile. The decision to leave your home should be made only when staying is more dangerous than going. That threshold is different for everyone, and it requires constant assessment of the situation around you. And if you want to go deeper into every detail we've covered today, from advanced perimeter security to legal considerations and trauma medicine, you'll find in the pinned comment some guides and documents that can take your preparedness to the next level. Check them out when you're ready. Here's the truth that most people can't handle. When the lights go out, society doesn't collapse all at once. It unravels slowly and then suddenly. The first night, people are confused. The second night, they're worried. By the third night, they're desperate. And desperation is when good people do bad things. Your home defense plan isn't about being paranoid. It's about being realistic. It's about understanding that the systems we rely on, the electricity, the police, the rule of law, are all thinner and more fragile than we want to believe. When they fail, you're on your own. And the only thing standing between your family and chaos is the preparation you do right now, today, before the crisis hits. Don't wait until the power goes out to realize you're not ready. Don't wait until someone is kicking in your door to wish you had reinforced it. Don't wait until your family is in danger to realize you never trained them on what to do. The time to prepare is now. The time to act is now. And if you understand the stakes, if you're ready to take this seriously, then subscribe. Share this with someone who needs to hear it. And commit to becoming the kind of person who doesn't just survive the blackout, but protects everyone who depends on them. Because when the lights go out, there are no second chances. There are only those who prepared and those who didn't. Make sure you're in the first group.